Welcome to back to our continuing adventures in It Came from Reddit. So shout out to Brad for bringing this to my attention, although it's been a week or two since this was brought to my attention, and I helped confirm on the back end what the diagnosis was, but I thought this would be a interesting thought experiment to effectively talk about. So I got the developers page pulled up here. Apparently somebody has a interest or fascination with watchdogs, as default is a minor antagonist in the Watch Dogs game and a major protagonist in the DLC for the first Watch Dogs. It's just due to the mouse face and the use of the word default, just missing the U. So, obviously bringing receipts, as I myself liked the game. I can't say so much I liked Legion, but the first game and the expansion, and then the second one I thought were okay. But effectively, so in that particular series, default is a DJ by day and black hat hacker for hire at night, and it's the same icon. Dude always wears a mask in this regard, and his tag effectively is just that, the rendition here. But anyways, so how I was made aware of this was apparently an end user on one of the subreddits for, I'm assuming, tech support or something else along those lines, said, hey, I found this Windows Activator, I downloaded and ran it, do you think I'm fine? Yeah, pretty sure it probably wasn't a fresh box. But so we have an end user that went through, downloaded some unknown code, and I think most of us would have the initial aspect of, okay, nuke and pave, and we're all done. Unknown code ran, don't care, nuke and pave, and everybody goes back to their day. What if that's not the right answer, though? Or what if is the right answer, but not the right order? And no, there's no such thing as a pave and nuke. But so taking a look at the Windows Activator that we ended up being linked to. It's password protected. It's not hosted on GitHub. It's on a third-party site. And the instructions don't match either, as you are downloading a RAR file, but they instruct you to sit there and extract the zip file. Which kind of makes me wonder as to whether or not if maybe this page, this developer, got breached and somebody else took over their account. Maybe I might go back and take a look at this in like the Wayback Machine, Internet Archive type of stuff, and see if any of this exists. But anyway, so you're instructed, you pull down the password protected compressed file. You extract the compressed file, you find the Activator.exe, you right-click Run as Administrator, and supposedly at the end of it, you end up with something like this. Will allow you to go through and activate your copy of Windows, or at least as it's presented, Office as well. And there you go. You can fly the Jolly Roger and you can get yourself a back leg. And if we took I wish I had the detections at the time that this came in. There weren't nearly as many. Granted, this thing was uploaded to GitHub 3 weeks ago, whereas this is as of 17 hours ago of me doing the recording. So it's been effectively 3 weeks, and most of the AV engines have caught on, but you're getting aspects of, I mean, if you didn't know that, PWSX would be, password stealers, you just see Trojan, Trojan generic, Trojan generic, Trojan generic. So you're getting a lot of generic Trojan detections. And if these things, if that was all you looked at, all you went with, okay. If it's a fresh box off the lot, okay, assuming it is an information stealer, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, that dude or woman's end user's AD password could effectively go out the door. Anything that might be stored inside of Edge, heaven forbid, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, whatever. Anything saved there goes out the door. Backdoor agent, yeah, so you might just assume nuke and pave and everything would be great. Especially if you only rely on one tool. So I'm not picking on, and this is not a criticism of hybrid analysis. I know that the back-end stuff is CrowdStrike, which, great. I've worked with many organizations that use CrowdStrike. It's got its pros, it's got its cons, like anything else. But what this comes back with, yes, it tells us it's malicious, but that it's labeled as Trojan.generic. So if you were only using a limited single information source, like in this case, hybrid analysis, you might be like, okay, well, that's this. Nuke and pave. We are done. +1 to our metrics. We are good to go. We got another quick win. And then wonder why the end user complains about, MFA exhaustion, some sort of bug or problem in that they are constantly having to sit there and reject MFA prompts. Or maybe not, maybe you don't even have MFA. All of a sudden you get a bunch of people calling up the help desk, itching and complaining that why is this user of yours sending us a bunch of cred phishing emails or spam or whatever the case is. I mean, again, I had nothing but good things to say about hybrid analysis and CrowdStrike. This is more a expanding of one's process. I realize all underneath the gun, all got to go through and get this stuff done as quickly as possible. This, that, and the other thing. May not have time. So this is, a quick way to sit there and pull together some evidence, maybe print out into a PDF the results and just go with that. But even by adding one more sandboxing aspect, so same exact sample dumped into any.run, and let me blow this up for you. Tracker, red line. Let's expand this even further. So triage from recorded future. Same exact file, run through on Windows 7 and 2 copies of Windows 10. Obviously 10 out of 10, and detects it as red line, info stealer, spyware. And if we were, depending as the organization, you may have CrowdStrike Sandbox that you could go through and run, and maybe you'll get a different answer than what hybrid analysis had. But there are tools like VMRay that allows you to go through, and much like with hybrid analysis, it's just another sandboxing platform. But effectively, again, we see this Trojan.generic detection, and we may look past these red lines. But again, this is, instead of just using one source, it's broadening it to get a few to sit there and all be on the same page. So, this is an example as to how the VMRay report comes out. Basically breaks down the particular aspects of a 0 to 5 score, classifications, and the like. So effectively, depending on what tool set you have available, you may not have access to VMware. You may not have access to CrowdStrike sandbox. But you have access to VirusTotal. You have access to any.run. You have access to hybrid analysis. You have access to triage at no cost. You just have to bear in mind that these are public reports. So that might come back more to the aspect, okay, the threat actor, bad actor, whatever you want to term them, that's in your environment at that particular aspect. They may be watching for, their malware or whatever the case is to actually start showing up in these aspects to realize, okay, they caught first round, we'll have to retool and come back. Again, the aspect of running loud and fast or silent and slow in terms of going through and doing a response to this. But effectively, if this was a brand new machine, there'd be less risk as opposed to something that's been lived into for 3, 6, 9, 12 months plus. I mean, who knows then what this end user has got, or usernames and passwords saved in their browser. Even if we sat there and mandated the use of, KeyPass or 1Password, LastPass, Bitwarden, anything else like that, it could still be the point that they just get tired of re-authenticating in on the occasion, and they just have it saved into the browser when the browser asks. And depending as to where this might have been detected, okay, all that stuff's out the door. I mean, we're kind of lucky that all this is currently is creds, because I think the conversation on Reddit turned over to, shall we say, spicy adult material that the Redditor might have had on the box at the same time that this activator was run between him and his partner. So yeah, that's a nice little pucker factor on that one. But you can see as to, if you just took the first aspect and ran with it, depending as to what that first aspect would be, it doesn't always necessarily lead you to a 100% conclusion. This being an info stealer that nothing seemed to at the moment kick off and stop, obviously their endpoint AV didn't flag. And the simple advice or the directive was nuke and pave the box. Everything else is fine. You can see as to how this begins to break down. You've handled one half, the compromise of the endpoint. You have not handled the compromise of the credentials, or the possible exfil and compromise of the credentials that would be stored on the box. So I mean, we do get a couple of these that are now, straight on stealer, stealer. I'm assuming PSW is password stealer for Windows. But yeah, enough of the stuff comes through, so thankfully. So effectively, only bringing this up to sit there and as a quick reminder to everybody. You don't have to sit there and go to the extreme level of running it through every available sandbox known to mankind. Especially if you're dealing with the event of redline, and the sooner you can get some sort of detection or confirmation, the sooner you can go about on a clean machine getting those credentials rotated so they are no longer valid. Of course, then it also comes to the aspect of session cookies. But unless they're a YouTuber, or depending what else they might have, that may be a lesser concern. A la, what is it, Linus Tech Tips from last month? they got something in the line of this, although I'm pretty sure they weren't looking for Windows activators, but it was like a red line or a VIDAR. I don't know if they ever actually released the sample, but effectively stole the session cookies, grabbed any sort of passwords that would have been in the uh, browsers on the endpoint, and basically just exfilled them off, which led to the channel being taken over and used for, I think it was Elon Musk cryptocurrency scams on YouTube. So, I mean, these info stealers are one of the biggest threats, at least in my mind. But I also do YouTube not for a living, but more for eh, um. Do I qualify it as fun? Hobby maybe, I guess. I never really tried to clarify it because it's not exactly like I'm going through and I'm not really making money off this, and I don't really do it for the money either, but more an attempt to give back. But anyways, try to get a couple of different confirmations if you aren't already. And I realized the whole aspect, yes, you get 70 plus engines in virus total, but with some of these new samples, everything else like that, you may not get results that look anything close to this. You may be having to sit there and deal with just like Trojan detections or like possible malicious detections from machine learning aspects, and only have a handful of those. Let's see, yeah, because this was May 9th when this one was put up and run through. So that would have been a couple of weeks. Did we have the last sandbox report? 9th as well. Does triage give us the date? No, apparently not. But so there are a number of free options out there, and I would highly suggest that instead of just outright nuke and paving, that a little bit of additional time is spent to understand exactly what it is that has been able to sit there and run on the box, as opposed to just taking an immediate action. I realize we would all want to sit there and do it. Maybe sit there and hopefully you've got, some next gen AV on the box that you can just sit there and just network isolate it, or go and pull the patch cable just to keep the machine alive for a while. Just disable the Wi-Fi until you can sit there and get a full determination as to what exactly happened, or at least get an understanding as to exactly what was run. What does it actually do? And I'm not talking about, going through and doing static analysis by pulling the sample into Ghidra and trying to reverse engineer it, when we've got all these other tools readily available that we can sit there and make use of to understand that if our default answer of nuke and pave is actually going to be the best choice in the option, or if there's something we should do in front. I mean, this would be like a simultaneous nuke and pave at the same time as. Actually, no. I think I would want the passwords rotated first on a clean machine. Just because of the fact that, okay, you need to know exactly what was popped. So you're going to need to know as to what was saved inside the web browsers, what active sessions would have been going on. So you can sit there and try to revoke any active sessions, and maybe that will nullify the stolen session cookies. I haven't gone through and tried that. So I guess effectively, if I can create a bunch of fake accounts and somebody wants to sit there, that's a white hat red teamer, that's extremely familiar with the aspect of session cookies, everything else like that. We can go through, and this could be a research topic in terms of, okay, how to better respond in the event that something like this kicks off. Otherwise, I might just sit there and go through and try it myself, although it'll probably be a hell of a lot more difficult. But anyways, so there we go. There's another It Came from Reddit. Hopefully, it's been somewhat thought-provoking in regards to the topic at hand, in regards to just not immediately nuking and paving. I mean, still, I'm sure 95% of the time plus, you'll still be just straight outright nuking and paving. But if you get these generic detections, everything else along those lines, that it may be worth a further look into with different data sources. So, typically when I'm doing something like this, it's everything I have access to. So it's virus total, it's integer analyze, it's any.run, it's hybrid analysis, it's triage. If I've got access to a threat grid from Cisco or VMware or CrowdStrike Sandbox, we're going through and we're running all that stuff through there simultaneously, just basically firing the stuff off and letting it go, just so we can have a better determination. Again, with the aspect that this is not something that we think might be nation state or might lead to something bigger, but the whole aspect of the end user approaching, saying, hey, I might have done something stupid. I went searching for a Windows Activator. I found this thing on GitHub. I downloaded and ran it. Do you think I'm fine, or am I going to have to sit through more phishing training now? Although technically it wouldn't be phishing training, but so hopefully it's been educational in some regard. Hopefully, maybe entertaining, maybe not quite. I don't know. But please do keep the advice in mind to not just necessarily go nuke and pave with everything. You may need to have an understanding as to exactly what you're nuking and paving for, because a nuke and pave is not going to sit there and handle password rotation and active session disabling in these info stealer situations. So, that's just something to keep in mind. And with all that being said, I will see everyone in the next video.